So how do we open the device camera? The good thing is, if you remember the first section of this module, Flutter actually uses Dart and it runs on an engine, so to say, which gives you direct access to the system, to the operating system you're running on. So you can directly tap into such native device features. Flutter gives you a direct bridge to these features. And later in the module, by the way, I'll also show you how you can actually write your own native Swift or Java code for iOS or for Android and connect that to your Flutter code. And you'll see how easy that is because Flutter has all the features it needs to talk to the underlying platform, so iOS or Android. It has all the features it needs to talk to that platform built in. So therefore, talking to iOS or to Android to open the camera is really simple. Still, you would have to write some Java or Swift code to really then tell Android or iOS to open the camera. And of course, that's not something we want to do here because chances are you don't know Swift, you don't know Java. And the good thing is, for all the common interactions you want to have with your device, so things like working with maps or working with the camera, you got packages which you can install that take all the heavy lifting away from you and just give you a couple of Dart methods you can call to, well, open a camera, to open maps, and so on. There are official packages managed by the Flutter team and tons of unofficial ones managed by the community. And if you search for image_picker here on pub.dev, you'll find a couple of plugins that help you with selecting images, and definitely feel free to explore them all. The one I'll use is the ImagePicker plugin here. This is a great plugin which makes it very easy to work with the device camera, select an image or take an image, and then work with that image. It has detailed installation docs here, and as always, the installation starts by going to the installing tab here and copying that dependency. And then simply go into your pubspec.yaml file here and there add it, and then save it, and as always, it fetches this automatically. If it doesn't, run flutter packages get in the terminal after navigating into this project here. So with that added here, we can start using this package to open the camera. So here in image input Dart, you now can import a package with package : and it's the ImagePicker package, and there the ImagePicker Dart file. With that added, you can go down here to this function which is triggered when this flat button is pressed, and there I now want to start taking my image. Now, since we have a bit more code in there, I'll actually use a named method here, a named function, so that this is a bit, well, nicer to read. Our code is a bit more structured. And I'll name it take picture, and I'll come back to the type this returns in a second. And in here, I'll use ImagePicker, and we don't instantiate this. Instead, you use this as a class which provides a couple of static methods. And if you click on it, you see it has static methods in there, like the pickImage method, and you already see that this will return a future. So you can call pickImage here to open the camera and take an image. And this returns a future because, of course, that will take a while to finish, at least until the user pressed the camera button and confirmed the image. So here we'll get back a future, and therefore I want to use async await, and therefore here we'll return a future. Here, however, a future which won't yield anything. But here, I of course want to await for this image to be taken, and then we'll have the image file as a response here. Whoops, and that should be final. So in the end, after the image took and confirmed the image, we'll have an image file here. Now there is an important note to take though. If you are using ImagePicker version 0.6.7 or higher, so if you're not using 0.6.5 or anything like that, then this syntax changes slightly, or you can change it. You can still use the syntax I show you here, but alternatively, you can now also instantiate the ImagePicker to create an ImagePicker. So actually, you would store this in a new final constant then. And then on this picker, you can call getImage. Now, to getImage, you will still be able to pass the exact same arguments I'm now going to pass over the next minutes. So that does not change. But how you trigger that image picking process, that changed. You instantiate and then call getImage on the instance instead of calling picImage as a static method. It depends on the package version you're using, and as I just said, you can also still use the other approach with the newer package version, but you might want to consider switching to that alternative I just showed you. Now, picImage needs to be configured. You need to provide the source argument and define what your source for the image should be, because there are two sources, and you can use the image source enum for that, which is provided by the ImagePicker package. And there you have the camera or the gallery. Now I want to use the camera, but of course you could also use the gallery instead to let the user, well, take an image from there. And another argument you can define is the max height or max width, and I'll restrict the image or automatically crop it to a max width of 600. So that our image isn't too big. Because of course modern phones really have high resolution cameras and you therefore shoot large images, and for this app we don't need such a large image. So to save some space on the device and also speed up our app, you should of course ensure that you only take images in a size that you really need, and don't take high resolution images if your app doesn't need them. If it does, of course, do so. So here, that will now configure the image I want to take. It will take the image, and thereafter it will store it here in image file. Now let's hook up the take picture method here to this button. So point at take picture without parentheses. Don't want to execute this method when the code gets parsed, but instead when the user presses the button. And with all of that, we're almost there. But one super important thing is missing. Often when working with native device features like the camera or with the user location, you need to ask for permission before you use these features. And therefore you need to add some extra setup. And you see that also in the package here in the README file. And basically, whenever you're working with a package that leverages some native device feature which needs permissions, the official documentation should tell you about that. So the official docs here for the plugins you're using are always worth having a look at because they tell you what you need to configure for this package to work correctly. Of course, you should not just check the README for packages that use native device features. You should actually read the README for all packages you're using, but especially for packages that use native device features, you should have a look so that you don't miss any setup. And here we get extra hints on how to configure this for iOS and for Android. And for Android, as you see, we need no extra config, but for iOS we do. There we need to edit the info plist file in the iOS runner folder. Now, if you're on Windows or Linux, you won't have an iOS folder because you can't build iOS apps there. But if you are on macOS, make sure you go to the iOS folder in your Flutter project and there to the runner folder and then to info plist. Info plist is a configuration file for the iOS app where you set up things like the version number of the app, but also some permissions you need and the text you want to show in the permission prompts, which iOS automatically shows to the user when the user is about to use the camera, use the location, anything like that. So here you see 3 keys which you should add. So just copy that name, and then in here you can pick any place, maybe here, above that key UI launch storyboard name. So right next to such a key entry, not between key and string or key or whatever, because these entries always belong together. You have a key and then that's the value for the key. So don't enter your new entry between such a key value pair, but instead add a new key here with these opening and closing elements here, key, and then again key with a / between the angle brackets, and then enter that key, which you got from the official docs. And now the value here is a string because you enter some text which is displayed to the user when he basically is about to use a feature that needs that permission. So here, this would be the permission you need when you want to use the gallery. We're actually not using that, so we technically don't need this. But in case you want to use the gallery, add this permission. That's why I'm showing it here. So here you can display any text that, well, gets the user to confirm this or give you the permission. So we need to take a picture. Maybe you provide a more meaningful text than that, but I think you're getting the idea here. So another permission which we need to add for our app here certainly is the camera usage description. You need that when you want to use the camera. And I'll show the same text here. You could enter a different text, of course. And then here, the microphone usage, you only need that if you want to take a video where you also record the audio. We're definitely not doing that here, so we don't need to set this up. So this here, the camera key, that's the important one for us. If you want to use the gallery, you also need that. And if you want to record videos, you also should ask for permission to record the audio. With that, we're all set for iOS. As the official docs state, we don't need a special setup for Android. So with that, we should now be able to press that button. Let's do a full refresh and then let's see whether that works. So let's go here to the Add Place screen, click Take Picture, and I'm actually getting an error here. No implementation found for method pick image on channel plugins. Now this should be a problem that can be solved by closing our process and fully rebuilding and restarting the app, simply because we added a plugin that taps into native device functionalities that can sometimes lead to problems. So let's do a full restart here. And now let's go back to that Add Place screen, click Take Picture again. And now this opens up the camera here. Now the first time you launch this, you get this info screen here. So simply go back in that case here, leave the camera. And let's press it again. Camera opens up again. And now here we can take a picture and confirm this with a check mark if we're happy. This closes the camera and now we got a handle to that image. It's now stored in that variable, but of course now we need to do something with that variable to save it on our local device in the file system there.